in contact with him tonight. I want to get in contact with him tonight. His name is Yahweh. He's the Lion of the tribe.
Hey, how's it going, brother? Shaka, brother. Hey, we got a special guest today. You're right, this is always loud. Always ends up too loud. This is Tyce from a local band. Did you call it punk thrash?
Yeah, punk thrash, hardcore metal.
Named Golgotha. And we wanted to spend a few minutes here, beginning of the show, just kind of talking to Tyce and seeing what's going on with him. And personally, he's a special blessing to me because he's been going to a bunch of the shows we've been having. Way back, One Bad Pig, and in fact, we're going to show a little of that footage of these.
All right.
Yeah, when he was, you were about that big? No, all you guys from Ingleside and Aransas Pass coming over there and having a good time at the One Bad Pig show we had at Bayfest back in '90.
Yeah.
That was 1990. About 3 years ago, huh? Man, that's been a while, hasn't it? God, where's the time gone? Heck, this show's been on, what, 3 years now? Almost. Who cares?
Yeah, I've been watching all 3 years, too.
Yeah! He's touched in the head. Anybody watches the Hatin Satan show that long, something's got to be wrong with him, I tell you. But we're going to let Tyce tell us a little bit about himself. I understand you're from California.
Yeah, I was born, raised in San Diego. I moved to Texas when I was 18 for a little while, and that's when I met Mike, and he had turned me on to that pig show that he was doing at Bayfest, and said this was like his first show that he brought down, Pig, and man, it was awesome. It was just a killer show, and then afterwards at Zeros, all the ministry they had going on there, it was awesome. And then unfortunately I had to go back to California to do some schooling, but I returned this last semester, and I'm now a junior at Del Mar College, and working on my accounting degree. So I'm at Del Mar now. I'll be at CCSU pretty soon. And,
so education pays off, right?
Definitely.
All right.
I take my education seriously.
Well, there's one thing about that's looked at Christians a whole lot is that a lot of people think that we're monolithic in our thinking, that we only think of one particular thing in the gospel. Now it's all that matters, and that's not always true. We're very big on being productive citizens, going out, taking your education as far as it'll go, and getting a good job, and being a part of society, and doing what God wants you to do. That's the main thing. And the idea that we're more heavenly minded, that we're too heavenly minded and no earthly good.
Right.
There's a balance there. And part of that is going to school, getting a good education, and being a productive citizen, because the more you know, the more you can do. And,
that's right.
I just encourage you to continue going on, yeah. But I wanted to touch on some of the music that has influenced you. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about your Christian testimony and how music was important to you before you were saved, and even after you were saved, or how it influenced you.
Okay, sure. I was saved when I was about 6 years old. I was growing up in a Christian family, and I really thank God for that too, because that's helped me out a lot. And I've been to church and Sunday school all my life, just like a lot of people have. And I really thank God that my parents brought me up in a Christian living, and like I said, I got saved when I was about 6, and about age, I guess I was about 16, I had started falling away from God and not really living the life that I should have been. Peer pressures took over and stuff like that. And about 18, I finally just got right with God and tried to get my life back on track to where it should have been. And that was about time that I started getting into Christian music really heavily. I grew up on stuff like Michael W. Smith and stuff like that when I was about 15 or 16. And it started developing into stuff I like, the heavier stuff that I was playing. And I got into bands like, I started getting heavier with Petra, and then it eventually evolved into stuff like Vengeance Rising and bands like that, and Crucified. I really started taking those bands.
That's a quantum leap there, right, from Petra to
mega leap.
to Vengeance Rising.
But Yeah. So anyways, music, it started getting a really good hold of my life. I was digging deeply into the lyrics that were there, because I had a lot of people just tell me, you know, that Christian heavy metal, that's not Christian, that's junk, you shouldn't be listening to that, that's of the world, that's the devil's music. And that really hurt me bad, because I was really into that, and I had read the lyrics and really got a lot out of it, and here was Christians just bombarding me with all this lies and stuff.
Nattering nabobs of negativism, right?
That's it, man.
That may be a little bit before your time. That was a quote from Spyro T. Agnew from early 1970s. See, he was, never mind.
Before my time.
He was a Republican vice president with Nixon, and he was always slamming the press because they were always giving Nixon a hard time and everything, and so his speechwriter came up with these little puns. It's called the nattering nabobs of negativism. That was the press, so I just thought I'd throw that in there just for grins. For you nostalgia buffs, and for those of you who are older than me and younger than Tyce. But anyway, we'll continue on. But yeah, it's really discouraging to a lot of the young Christians. I talked to a youth leader. Well, it's been a few years now, and I said, listen, we've got the show coming up. I'd like for you to put some posters up, and maybe you can give a little talk before the youth group, and let them know that we've got this group coming, and get your youth involved. You know, invite their friends from school, and let's make this a big thing. You know, and his response to me was, well, you know, I'd really like to, but I've only got just a couple of kids in my whole youth group who are into this kind of music. Talking about thrash or hardcore, something like that. And so it kind of discouraged me, because what you were talking about is that you were talking about how you fell away for a bit. And there seems to be a black hole in a lot of young Christians' lives between, I guess, the ages of about 15, 16, 17, and when they're in their early 20s. Is that the church really isn't meeting their needs. And I'm not saying that you have to go to church and that the pastor has to plug in Vengeance Rising or some industrial stuff to appease the youth, but I'm just saying that a lot of the youth leaders need to wake up and realize that a lot of the kids who are not coming to church are not coming to church because nobody's tried to reach them, or nobody's tried to take time to find out what kind of music they're into and what is a Christian alternative to that music, or just to be able to relate to them. You know, they say, well, you get too much into a clique, and I go, well, that's probably true, but that also works in an opposite way. A lot of the Christian kids who are into the alternative scene or into the hardcore metal scene, they see the Christians clicking in the Michael W. Smith crowd or the Amy Grant crowd or the Petra crowd, and that's all they ever see is posters of these cats. And so there's no credibility lent to the guys who are out there really slugging it out in the trenches, such as Deliverance and Mortal and the Crucified and some of these other bands who have been out there doing the club scene.
Right.
And I'm not talking about just doing some little Christian happy shows. I'm talking about getting out there and preaching the gospel boldly and being physically attacked at times for it. And Tourniquet, you know, when they went to the Milwaukee Metal Fest, and Glenn Benton of Deicide tried to stir the crowd up to beat up the Christians. He said, I sense that there's Christians in this crowd, and I want y'all all to just beat them to death. That was Betrayal?
That was Betrayal. That was in San Diego, too.
Oh, I stand corrected. You're fired. Anyway. Bye. Well, it was Betrayal. But still, you know, Tourniquet, you know, has had some problems with Glenn Benton. You know, we talked. In fact, I may show a little bit of the interview with Ted Kirkpatrick, where he talked about Glenn Benton and his censorship of Christian music. A lot of people, you know, when you pick up the Village Voice, and for instance, right here it says the ADL, which is the American Defense League. I believe it's the American Defense League. It's a Jewish organization, and they were trying to take care of a lot of the anti-Semitic type literature that are in libraries and colleges, campuses, and stuff like that. And so the conservatives are always looked upon as